Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Hello, this is Jamie from LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education. And Jerry Kimball, of course, my co-host, is here today. How are you, Jerry?
Oh, Jamie, I'm a little bit tired. You know, we've been on a podcast retreat for the last week, but can I just give a shout out? I am such a coffee lover, and on our retreat, I found this coffee company, Badass Coffee, and it's all about the donkeys carrying the beans up the hill. And the coffee is wonderful, so I brought some home. I think it's going to get me through.
You were on a mission to find that place because you got some great recommendations on it. So you were on a mission and found it. So I'm glad it's doing you good.
Yes. So got home in the wee hours of the morning, but I'm ready to go now because I'm super excited about our guest today.
Yeah, well, I'm excited too. I mean, well, first of all, you have gotten me excited. I'm excited to learn. PBL is something near and dear to my heart, which is one of the topics we're talking about today. And I'm a former math and science teacher, so it was the heart of what I did. You have to get kids involved in authentic ways in what they're learning. And so I do, and now I actually, the book I wrote was based on it. And I do a lot of workshops where I incorporate it all the time. So I'm really excited to hear about the intersection between PBL and UDL principles. So tell us a little bit about our guest who's going to share the details with us.
Absolutely. So it's kind of a fun story. So I met Susan Maynor on Clubhouse, I thought. Okay. So I called her and I loved what she was talking about on Clubhouse. She was talking about design thinking classes for teachers. I think that's great because I think teachers want to use design thinking, but they want just to know how to do it effectively. And she's working on that. We're going to hear about that today. So when I called her, she said, you know, Jerry, I looked you up on social media and you've been to my school. And I said, what is your school? And she said, Epic. And I could hear the music going because Epic is the coolest school I have ever been to. I've been to a lot of schools, and Epic is epic. It is amazing what the kids do here and how the learning goes. It's everything we want to be, and you can see it in action. So when we started talking, I was just in awe of the work that Susan has done, and she has been with Epic from the beginning. They just finished their 7th year. Oh. And so I want to welcome Susan Maynor to the show and ask Susan if you'll tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into more details.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Jerry and Jamie, for having me today. This is a delight. Thank you so much. Yes, I am Susan Maynor. I have been a learning experience designer for 25 plus years in education. I have taught K through 12. I have also served as a instructional coach and a curriculum consultant, and also work with schools that are sort of in their journey of redesign. And so that's been a joy. I absolutely am a champion for creativity in everything. And so as I've been in the journey, a part of Epic for the last few years, and I'll share a little bit about more of that later, it's just been great to see my deepest passion that every child is a unique individual that can create and think and make impact in the world. And that has been part of my journey as an educator for my entire career, but also just having the opportunity to be a part of that. I also, I'm a huge proponent of story. I love story. I am a visual storyteller, and had a chance to teach film and to high school. And now I share that. I use those skills with my little people now at Epic and teach them how to empower them to create and share visual stories. So so that's just a little bit about me.
Yes, we can't wait to hear your stories today for sure. But I love this term, learning experience designer.
Yes.
I love that. That's, I think that's what all teachers strive to be.
Absolutely. And I think everyone, I mean, good teachers are learning experience designers.
They
You
are.
design a learning experience for different entry points for kids. I also do it for adults. So when I've gone in to do trainings for adults, I think, I use design thinking to actually design experiences. So a lot of times I will have conversations first, do my empathy work. What do you need? What do you want? Where do you want to go? And then from that, you design kind of that customized professional learning so that, teachers and principals and anyone just are on the path that they want to be on for learning.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get into it.
Yeah. So, the design thinking really is the foundation for sure. And no, Jerry says you have a waiting list for people to come check out your school. Your school is what grade levels then? Just a little?
Okay. Sure. Let me give you just a little background. So EPIC actually stands for Every Person Inspired to Create. That's EPIC Elementary. And we are the pilot school for Liberty Public Schools. We were designed to be that school that is 3 years ahead, figuring things out, pioneering. We are a one-to-one iPad learning environment. We started out that way. We are also a project-based learning environment. Mm-hmm. So we were designed, we literally from the beginning launched our school to be a very dynamic, learning environment to inspire kids to think big and create. And we actually have 3 pillars that guide everything. It's empower creativity, obviously for all of us, anyone involved. Equip students, which is where sort of our personalized UDL piece comes in, where we want kids to be on their own path of learning. And engage communities, because real work in community, authentic learning, for kids to see that they have a voice and that they can make impact is going to empower them to make a better tomorrow. So we really want our kids, when they come to school, I mean, we go back to the question, what is school, right? We want their journey to be filled with wonder, with discovery, with their own reflection to see what they're good at. You asked me a question about waiting list. Yes, waiting list. The waiting list really comes from visits. We don't have a waiting list for our school per se.
What I mean, right.
Yeah. So we have we're only designed for 300 students. Our building, it's a K-5 learning environment. We are designed, we're lottery based, and that is because we pull from the entire district. So we take 5% from every the other elementary schools. So therefore we have a good representation of the Liberty community. That was, again, designed from the beginning. So like our principal, teachers, no one knows who's coming. We can, people apply. Now, most of them are just, incoming kindergartners, and we try to keep families together and siblings. So the waiting list is, and, it's been an interesting year with COVID. We haven't had any outside visitors. But yeah, these are more for tours. And our goal from the beginning was, we need to know our story, and then we need to share our story, share our journey, invite other educators in to see what we're doing. We're on our own journey, and we hope that others coming in will be on their journey. But if they take a nugget or two that they can take back to their learning environment and continue to transform education for kids, that's really what we try to do. And we've been sharing our story. We share our story on social media, through our Twitter, and we've kind of punched up our Instagram a little bit, working on our Insta stories and all those things. So trying to show the world some of our journey.
It's really, every school has that one teacher, or hopefully more than that, but at least one teacher who really just goes the extra mile to make sure that, learning is authentic. It's personalized. It's connected to the community, as you said. So students see that they have a voice and they can make an impact. But you don't see this school wide. So I guess that is what makes this so epic, right? Because this is something that is the foundation of your entire school. You said elementary, but up to what grade level?
It's kindergarten through fifth grade. So
Okay.
we're designed that is in a district. We have K-5 in our elementary, we have 6-8 in our middle, and then 9-12 in our high school. And one of the things that's come out of our work at Epic is that we do have a pilot, sort of a school within a school at the middle school. It's called InDesign Project
Okay.
Based. And we have that coming to our high schools too. We have a couple of the micro schools that are happening in both of our high schools that have sort of come out of our work at Epic. Again, we pioneered, however many years ago, nobody knew what it would look like. We just forged ahead, and it's been successful. And so all our different schools have sort of taken the pieces that work for them. Project based does kind of filter in through the rest of the schools. We are now a K-12 Apple district. We went, not everybody had iPads, but when the community saw what our kids are able to do with mobile technology, with the iPads, it's been transformative.
Right. That was going to be my next question is,
Yes.
It's stopping at the elementary school, but obviously these are skills that we expect students to take throughout their lives. So I was hoping to see how, because you started this 7 years ago, didn't know where it would actually go, but you are seeing now that it is spreading through the other schools, even if it is in smaller doses. But those kids are taking those skills into every class they go.
Absolutely.
And hopefully into the future. I mean, I did a wetlands enhancement project with my students, and we had to go to the board, then we had to go to the town council. And I have students who actually went into helping their communities as adults. And it really just made my heart so happy to see that this was something that was meaningful to them. And they were able to take those skills. It becomes intrinsic, because this way it becomes natural to them. And that's what we're hoping for when we do these things. So it's so exciting to see this school-wide. So exciting. How many students are in the school?
300 seats.
Okay,
so that is, that has to do with our square footage. So, it's no magic number. It just had to do with the building. And we actually repurposed a building. It was our admin building that they repurposed. So, we're trying to be fiscally responsible. The district has done a fabulous job, and they've done that. Instead of building more buildings, they've sort of thought, how do we do things differently? Our district has moved to a lot of the teachers being project-based learning trains. Okay. So that has kind of taken form, as well as we've got, a lot of Apple learning. So they are knowing how to leverage those devices for creative work and for connecting with community. I can share a little bit more about some of the things that we do at Epic and kind of our belief system with design thinking being the mindset that blends with project-based learning as a construct. I'm happy to share a little bit more specifics rather than just district-wide, if that would be helpful.
Right. So that was the next thing I wanted to talk about, because Susan, when I came to your school, and I think I've been there 3 times, good enough.
I'm glad.
When I came with teachers, the conversation in the car on the way home is really where it happens, right? So teachers were saying, we think about design thinking, we think of PBL, and then all of these tools with the iPad, and we don't understand how we can make all of that come together. But when we came to Epic, we saw it all in action. And that's what really helped us feel like we now can move forward in our own direction. So if you would give us an example of action and what that is like, I think that's really helpful for listeners.
Sure. When you think of education in sort of the timeless skill sets you want, like creative thinking, communication, being the ability to work with others, the ability to have a global mindset, those kinds of thinking need to be framed within a learning experience that's real, that's going to make a true impact on community. And if we go back to our pillars of engage community, equip students, and empower creativity, all of those work together for these project-based learning experiences. And the fact that it really starts with empathy. It starts with the ability to look outside themselves as students and say, oh, I can create for this. I can solve this problem. I can make an impact if I put my gifts towards this. We have a lot of fabulous examples through the grade levels. I'll give you a couple that are some that have really, that they're kind of broad, kind of those United Nations sustainability goals that are continual challenges. Our third grade this past, actually the last 2 months of school, explored the global water crisis. And so what they did is they not only are learning about water, which is one of the standards, right, that we all as teachers want to do, learn the water cycle. They learned the power of water and clean water throughout the world and how it impacts communities. They partnered with actually a local nonprofit that does work over in Sudan with water. And it was really fabulous because they do a lot of gardening and they usually do a market day and they raise money funds. Well, this year we didn't really have the same vegetables and produce because of just different things. So they painted all kinds of like they made vases, they made baskets, fruit baskets, and had a massive market day all week and raised well over $500 for this organization. Kobe for Clean Water is, I believe, what it was called. And they got to meet with the people they were in connection with. We partnered with KCYA, which is Kansas City Youth Audiences, and they did a drum performance. It was fabulous. So it was just so neat to learn all about the culture and how music's made, where they were giving their water. Their money for the water. It was fabulous. And the kids, I think, more than anything, realized where they are in life and what they have and what they can do to make someone's life sweeter and better. Our fifth graders, every year in the fall, it launches with the Global Cardboard Project, which is really about design process. And they start by making a big arcade at our community night in October to sort of launch their exploration into the problem of hunger. And so they look at hunger in the local community in our Clay County, and really are sort of eyes opened to kids and families that are food insecure, might not know where their next meal is coming from. So they do a lot of work in researching and becoming experts in understanding statistics and things. And they have they host what's called an Empty Bowls event. And again, it's to raise awareness. It's also to raise money. They create art. They create digital poetry. They share stories. And then that actually spills into the rest of the year with kindness to community. And they do all kinds of neat things. They come up with their own service project to actually serve their community just by themselves. So it kind of culminates with, hey, let's work together to create and solve problems. And now look what I can do to impact my own community with my ideas. So those are just a couple of examples that, and there's so many more. I mean, we have a lot, and every year, every grade level, we call them studios because we want to cultivate creativity with our kids and to see themselves as artists and designers and storytellers and leaders. And we want them to think that way. So almost every studio, and a lot of this is based on the standards, believe it or not, our Missouri Learning Standards, we look to see what they have to learn, connect it with the real community, and use design thinking to solve those problems, and then it becomes relevant.
Oh, yes. So Susan, I'm going to be devil's advocate for a minute.
Sure.
Not my way of thinking, but I want to ask you, what about those basic skills? How are you ensuring that they're getting them?
Absolutely. You bring in a great point. So EPIC is project-based. but it's
Right.
also one of our goals is to equip students. So we have a variety of different platforms and learning experiences where kids are actually learning those skills. If you look back to kindergarten and first grade, and we are leveraging, small group instruction, like kids need to learn to read, and that's okay.
Right.
Not everything has to be in a huge project. And so, but kids see those skills as connecting to what matters in their world. And so sometimes it is learning your math facts. Sometimes it is learning, certain skill sets, but then you're becoming a better writer because you want to be a better communicator, because you want to make a difference in the world. So all of the basic skills are framed in such a way, not necessarily in a fancy project, but as students seeing themselves as, I need to learn this because I want to be able to, serve better or create better or do something different in my community. So there's a lot of that personalized time is woven into a day where it's not just like creating. I mean, we have a lot of creativity, but kids are able to show their learning in different ways as well. And that's kind of where we go back to some of those universal design for learning principles that, not everybody has to follow the same path. We're not all doing worksheets. We're not all doing one app on our iPad. We have our own learning journeys. And think of it kind of like a to-do list, your task list, and you got to learn these things. Kids know where they're going, but they may go, I'm going to do this first, or I need this, so I'm going to go advocate for myself because this is what I need for learning. So we try to train them from the very beginning. That's really our goal, is that when they come in for kindergarten, they're beginning to see themselves as individuals, as unique design, unique ideas, and then they learn that they can get what they need to be successful.
And I have one more question for you,
Sure.
which is kind of technical. I hear a lot of people saying, why would a school have iPads?
Sure.
As opposed to, and I think I figured it out for Epic, but tell us why iPads.
Oh, it's a great question. And first of all, I think the iPad is it's magic. It is, first of all, the apps alone allow kids to create real world, products.
Right.
It's a very intuitive device. So therefore and it's very user friendly for the kids. I think the camera is magic. I think Keynote is magic. And I think because kids see it as a platform for their creativity, a platform for them to go beyond just consuming information, that it is much more of a creative platform in their minds. So they know that they can look something up, they can go create a message, they can create a video. They just have access. And because Apple is sophisticated in their software, all those apps talk to each other. And so the kids know, I'm going to take a picture, then I'm going to bring it into clips, then I'm going to go make something in Keynote, and I'm going to bring it into my video. And AirDrop is fabulous. We love AirDrop. I mean, the kids are airdropping all the time. Here, use this picture for whatever. And I just find that I've not been able to replicate that learning experience for kids with any other device.
Right. And it's very personalized because
Absolutely.
I have the apps that I need for my learning and you have the ones you need.
Yes.
Yes.
Every path is unique to the child. And so once the children have those tools under their belt, then they know what they need. And then teachers are right there to help those kids that may struggle or need a little something or need a different way. And again, we're always impressed with what our kids are able to do at such a young age. Like they blow me out of the water. I'm like, seriously, you're 5 and you just did that. I'm like, so
it's all about the motivation. It's all about if you said it starts with empathy, but I think it also ends with empathy. And I think because of that, the students have a purpose. They have a purpose, they have a goal. And because of that purpose and goal, they know the route, as you described, to take the proper route in terms of what they need. So there's motivation to learn those math concepts in order for it to make sense to get to this goal. Their writing becomes better because they're doing it for an actual purpose. It's not just because the teacher said so. So when students are in charge of their own learning, they're making those proper choices, all based on the standards, as you said. Those standards are there for us and guiding us, and they're still meeting those. But it's such an amazing thing. And just as you said, the Apple technologies are so personalized, which matches exactly what they're trying to do. So you have this perfect alignment that is just allowing them to make their own choices for their own learning paths in pursuit of a purposeful goal that is not for themselves, but for others. So it's so exciting. It really is. And like I said before, you always have, every school has those teachers who are trying to do it. And I use the word trying because there are so many obstacles. There are so many things that make it difficult for them. But in this nurturing environment that you've created, it's the teachers just are able to be those true facilitators that they need to be. I love it.
Absolutely.
They really are.
Love
So Susan, when you were on Clubhouse, when I thought I had met you for the first time, I was listening to you just talking about creating a design thinking course for teachers and working with architects. I was really intrigued by that. Can you tell us a little bit about that course?
Absolutely. And that is not connected to Epic. Just so you know, that's a little bit, I've had opportunities to work, like I said, with some schools that are in redesign. And this opportunity is with Startland Education. Startland is a nonprofit that is really located in Kansas City. It's all about the ecosystem of Kansas City. So they have Startland News, which is, the news piece of it. They've got Startland Education, which works with mostly the Kansas City public schools and the charter schools that are in Kansas City, Missouri. And so I stepped on to work with, I'm going to step back for a second. They're very passionate about design thinking and have done a lot of work with high schools and created something called the Mecca Challenge, where they invite people, the high schoolers come in and solve real world problems. Again, a lot of this is in the urban core to move, kids forward and get them excited about engineering and, science and all those things. So, they were approached by Burns and McDonnell, which is an engineering firm local, to design a design thinking cohort for elementary teachers. And so I stepped on as kind of a consult because they had done so much work at high school. How do we translate this for elementary teachers and elementary kids? So it's been a neat journey because what they're doing is it's teachers in the Kansas City metro area. There's I think there's about 20 of them that are part of the cohort, and it actually just launched in June, and they're basically going through the design thinking process, and then will next year implement it into their classroom. So it's training them. They're working with the architects and the engineers from Burns and McDonnell, their education branch or whatever they're in part of their company. And I've been more behind the scenes. I'm creating some videos that actually are teaching videos for kids using animation to teach kids what is design thinking, what is frame and focus, what is empathy, what is ideation, and those types of things. So, so it's been a wonderful experience because one, it's deepened my understanding of design thinking, but it's also helped me even see the broader need, not just in my Epic world, but being able to see that power that design thinking can be for all kids, and gives me even more of an excitement of how can we get kids doing this more and more. And again, early age. And I love what you said, Jamie, it starts with empathy, but it kind of ends with empathy. And so when kids can process this, and so anyway, it's just been a great little journey. I'm working with, there is one person part of Startland who's teaching the class, and I'm helping her. And I've loved it. She's a younger educator, so I feel like I'm the mama going, the mentor. And so trying to stimulate some ideas and bring in some modern thinking to, and some of that project-based learning piece.
What has been the response from your teachers so far?
So far, it's been great. And again, it just started about 3 weeks ago. They're going to take the month of July to do their empathy work. So it's kind of exciting. They're going to have to, and to be honest, teachers don't want to do that. Teachers don't want to dig deeper outside of their comfort zone. And so these teachers are being in a situation where they're going to have to go out and ask questions and create a survey and interview people. And so the empathy work in and of itself, whether or not it fits into the project, will be growth for these younger teachers, or for these teachers.
It will change them forever.
Absolutely. And I often think that educators don't teach with empathy in mind. Believe it or not, they're not really thinking about their kids. They're thinking about the stuff they need to cover or do or teach. And so when you engage with empathy work and begin to even create an empathy map of your kids, of your students, it changes perspective. And
it really does.
It does. And it actually can change the course of how you run your classroom.
The past couple of decades, as I mentioned before, that's why things tend to be a struggle for teachers, right? Because I think in the past couple of decades, we are so data driven. We are so and the standards are important. And like you said, they're still the foundation of everything you're doing, but they should not be up here and squash all of our efforts. Empathy, as you said. It's really what drives whether it's what you're teaching and what the students should see, or who you're teaching, the students. So you are totally right. It really does make that difference when you just strip it all down and say, and I always go back to this quote my dad said, when my dad taught for 37 years, he taught high school. And when people would ask what he teaches, he said, I teach students. Yeah. And I think that really is the basis of it. Like, who are these kids and how can we properly address them? So, work with them as facilitators. So
absolutely.
Right. It reminds me of the quote, really, we don't care what you know, it's what you can do with what you know.
Yes.
And you are letting kids show you what they can do with what they know. And really, that's where the difference is. Yes.
One of the things we've noticed is when you allow kids to create, when you allow kids to have that voice and choice, that cultivates a confidence unparalleled to any other learning experience. They see what they can do. And so the earlier when we allow kids to create early, and that confidence stays a part of who they are all the way up, because you get to high school and you're kind of feeling like you're jumping through hoops and, I got to do this and that. But if within you is that confidence and that creative mindset, you can still plow through whether or not it's, wherever it may be. And then those kids take it with them. And that's our goal, because they're going to hit bumps where they have to do what their teacher says, or they're going to have a boss that says, here's what you have to do. So we don't want that, they don't need to be renegades, but they need to be confident in their abilities and their strengths and gifts.
Susan, your community has really set an example. You are pioneering a new way of teaching and learning with the EPIC School, and it has rippled to the middle school and then now to the high school. And I'm hoping that this ripple effect will ripple throughout our country, maybe even the world, because this kind of learning is so important. And I appreciate that you share it with others and you allow other people to come to your school to see the vision and see
Absolutely.
how they could implement it. Yes. So we're going to start kind of wrapping up now.
Sure.
And we have a couple lightning round questions that we like to ask, which might be a little bit off topic, but they could be on topic. We'll see what
Sure.
you have to say. So in our podcast this last year, of course, we've talked a lot about the pandemic. So, Epic had to go through the pandemic as well. So what's something that you know now that you wish you had known before the pandemic?
I saw that question and I thought to myself, I don't know if I would want to know anything, because to be honest, being a pioneer and figuring it out was tremendous. And again, applying design thinking principles. What do our kids need? What do we need to do? I think that builds the character. And so I'm not sure I would have wanted a roadmap and, or even something. I think, hindsight's always 2020. You look back, you reflect, you pull that with you. And I feel like more than anything, if I were to just push anything out, it's just leveraging the power of community and collaboration and creativity, because that's really what helped us through it all. So I'm not sure I really answered that question, but I was like,
Perfect. You're using, it was your design thinking that got you through the pandemic.
Yes,
So,
for sure.
and it made all of us more resilient, not knowing. So I think the answer is perfect.
I think teachers have always wanted to know, what's the plan and what are we supposed to do? Your answer was so epic. It just reflected where you were.
Well, yes, for sure.
I really like that. And you probably have to hire teachers that are willing to move forward without a step-by-step plan as well.
Yes. I think if teachers have sort of that entrepreneurial mindset, that kind of like that fosters innovation. I think and I think it'd be great for all teachers to be that way. Think about, but at the same time, we're all growing and everybody's in different spots. So.
We are. And I think we all grew even more.
Yes, for sure.
During the pandemic. So the second question is, what are you learning or doing this summer for work or pleasure that's helping you grow?
Absolutely. So a couple of things. I'm actually in process of becoming, if that's a word, Apple Learning Coach. It was just something offered to our district, and it does require a lot of outside hours, and it's deepening my understanding of coaching. And it's, again, a free professional learning that Apple offered. So I'm working on that this summer. I have 2 books on my shelf. I have not started reading them quite yet, but I think I might take them to the beach with me. Reading Think Again by Adam Grant and Black Sheep by Brent Menswear. Both books were, the Black Sheep, I've already kind of started to look at that, and I'm so excited. It's a short, quick read, but it's about knowing your what and operating from your what, not just always your why, like what are you designed for, and moving there. And the last thing is I'm creating these videos for the design thinking course. And what I love about doing that, I love the visual storytelling. I think I shared that earlier, but it's driving my own creativity, because we have the script, we've already written the scripts, and then I get to think and create the animations. And I am just using simple animations in Keynote, and I'm kind of using all my Apple stuff. So it's a good time. I have dabbled in using Apple's Motion, which is their motion graphics. And I'm not great at it, but I've been playing a little bit with that too, to see if I can weave that into some of the videos.
Susan, are you going to do any sleeping this summer?
Yeah, right?
Yes, I promise. It sounds a lot more than it really is, but I have teenagers and they're busy working, so it's good to keep my brain going. And I did mention we're going to the beach. It will be a family vacation. So
great. That's great. Okay, you want to ask that last question? This is your area.
Oh, I just wanted to say real fast, though, I know you're really busy with all of your books and everything else that you're doing, but we do recommend the Think NATO book, because everything you're talking about, right, Jerry?
All right, I'm making note.
Think NATO, John Bielenberg.
Okay.
You might want to look up his TED Talk.
I will most certainly will. Thank you for that recommendation.
Yeah, it's right up your alley, and I think you can definitely leverage that with your community there.
Definitely. Thank you.
So, what is your favorite tech tool or website that has impacted you positively?
That is great. Thank you so much for asking that question. I don't know if I have a favorite, but if I were to say one thing that I really love, and this is more of a recent love, this past year, I've challenged myself a little bit more. I am absolutely in love with Apple's Keynote and the animation and the creativity that goes. I've done things like challenge the kids and myself to use only shapes to, show how the human impact on environment can have negative effects. And all of a sudden I'm finding myself thinking and doing things that, have really pushed my thinking. And then I'm able to see with what I do with kids. But I would say Apple's Keynote is my current love that I'm enjoying. I also like Final Cut Pro. I love editing story, but that's just because I love seeing the story that comes out at the end, not always in the troubleshooting during the process. But thanks for
Keynote is one of my go-to tools, and people always say, well, that's a presentation tool.
Oh, there's so much. I know. So I'm with you.
Share your tutorials about Keynote that we could look at, or are those just?
Sure. No, I have some. I last summer, we were still kind of, pandemic shut down. I worked with a group of Apple Distinguished Educators around the world to create iPad parent guides. And so I made a bunch of videos on Keynote. So I started a Vimeo channel. I'm not been really great at building that. I need to probably put a lot more out there. I'm not the most organized human being. So I'll have to share you some of those little Keynote tips and tricks. So
what is your channel if we'd like to follow it?
Well, it's really small. It's just my name. I'm pretty sure it's just my name, Susan Maynor. I'm pretty easy. If I'm not Susan Maynor, I'm Schmaynor, SHMAYNOR. That's my Twitter and Insta. But I will you've encouraged me. I need to upload more things because I've created things. I just don't put them up there. So.
Well, and I think when you're creative, it's hard to be super organized too.
Yes.
It's like two different mindsets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I'm definitely that picture where, the two people in front of the file cabinet and the one file cabinet, everything's exploding out of it. I'm like, that's me.
That's me too. I know, I can relate.
Yes.
Susan, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show today. We have enjoyed, and you're making me want to be more creative as well. So I thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm so happy you reached out to me, and I just thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And Jamie, it was lovely to meet you here as well. And if you're ever in Kansas City, Missouri, come to Epic and love to connect with you.
So exciting. I love everything about it. And we're going to spread the word.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube.